Welcome to the PulpMX Show, presented by Motorsport.com, Fly Racing and Decal Works. Coming to you live from Las Vegas, right outside the Lion's Den, with your host, Steve Mathis. And now strap in and get ready. It's showtime.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the PulpMX Show. This is a best of episode. Since we're off this week, we're bringing you some never-before-aired segments and snippets from interviews for some of the previous shows for you all to enjoy. You know the show is usually around 5 hours long, so we cut it down to an hour, so you know there are tons of stuff that you guys on MavTV never see. Lots of gold out there. And so without further ado, strap in and enjoy this best of episode. Dueling press releases. Well, not dueling press releases. A podcast and then a press release by Honda. People I talk to who are close to the situation say that he's done at Honda. You know, one of the theories floating out in the pits is like, hey, Honda doesn't want to support the World Supercross races because Chase wants to do them and the Lawrence brothers want to do them. They don't want to support it. So Kenny's going to go do these two races for Firepower Honda, and then he's going to re-sign with Honda. And that's not a bad theory because then Honda's not, quote-unquote, supporting this race. But the people I talk to say that's not going to happen, and this is done. And you know, when we were bench racing with a lot of industry heavy hitters at MXDN, Kenny's situation came up a lot. A lot of people can't believe kind of what it's turned into. I'll start with you, JT. What do you think he does? Or do you think he ends back up there?
I don't know what other options are really on the table that for him to be on factory equipment and with the resources that he's accustomed to. I just don't know what really is left. But I also don't think Honda is in a position where they want to bend on this situation either. So they're kind of at an impasse. It's really tough. I don't have an obvious answer.
Yeah.
There is not one.
I think his options, to me, I know his agents told people that there's a couple of OEMs interested. I'm not sure I believe that. But I could see him doing a World Supercross deal.
I mean,
for 20.
okay, you ride for free and we'll put a third bike on the truck?
I don't know.
They're interested in that. I would almost guarantee you they're interested in that, but Kenny's not interested in that, I don't think.
I think his options are he goes back to Honda, again, something I've been told not going to happen. World Supercross 2023, all season long, right? 10 races or 8 races or whatever it's supposed to be. Weege, what's your take on this?
I don't think Ken wants to do that. I mean, he's on the record that he even wants to race Supercross and motocross again. Like, he does not want to be done. He does not see the sun setting. He wants to race like he's always raced. You know, he wants to race Anaheim. He kept saying, I want to race Nationals next year. Yeah, I don't see how this Honda thing can be mended because I'm glad it's out in the open. And everything I've learned about this World Supercross deal, I think people want to pitch this as, oh, it's the guys at Feld and the folks at MX Sports and the folks at Global Supercross, they hate each other. I'm not saying they're stoked on each other, but I've definitely seen much more heat from the teams and the FIM factor as well. The teams don't like the FIM. So I'm glad Honda, now I no longer have to say this is what I've heard. Honda pretty much straight up said, we do not support this series.
These U.S. teams can't agree on what day of the week it is,
Yeah.
but they can agree that they're not supporting World Supercross.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm fine with
100%.
that. I don't have a side to that. Like, I think it's fine. If they don't want to do it, I get it. They're American-based companies. Cool. I also see no reason to not like and see the World Supercross as a cool thing also.
Yeah.
You know, so it's great. It's going to give opportunities. But back to
knowing
Kenny,
how the reason I bring this up is knowing how entrenched these teams are.
Yeah.
And we are supporting the series that we've always supported.
Yep.
I don't see how Honda can then a month later be like, it's all good. Like, because that essentially, okay, he wasn't under contract at the time he raced. Letting him race Anaheim in a factory Honda back on the team is essentially saying this is fine.
Kind of, yes.
Yes.
So what do you think he does? What do we see? What is
I think
Ken
to
Roczen?
JT's point, he still has value, and for someone to add a bike, to have that Ken Roczen carrot dangling out there from September through January, for someone to be like, let's go for it, I could see it happening.
You know, Astafan, his agent, Steve Astafan, was a instrumental.
There's no A there. It's just Astafan.
What did I say?
Astafan.
Astafan.
There you go.
Okay. He was instrumental in starting Chad Reed's team.
He was.
I don't see that going with Kenny, though. In this climate,
I can tell
don't
you.
see that happening.
Well, I shouldn't take it. I know for a fact at the time, Steve was like, please don't do this. Please don't do this. And I would almost bet, I would say my opinion without any information is that Steve's saying that again. Don't do this.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult uphill climb financially and on every level. It's difficult.
There's only one person crazy enough to try it and make it succeed, and that's Chad Reed. Seriously.
And look how that went. Like it was. I think if Chad had toned it down, cut it in half, cut it 75%, financially would have been fine. But that's not who Chad is. Chad's all in, right? And it was really difficult on Chad and his family and his financial future in the end. Doing that.
Yeah. But it did work awesome. I mean. He made it successful as far as he was able to. He was able to compete with the factory teams. I don't know how many other guys are built like Chad to pull that off.
More PulpMX show on MavTV is coming up.
This MavTV Motorsports Network broadcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Yamaha. Revs your heart. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Here's more with the stars of two-wheel racing with PulpMX on MavTV. Now, I heard from somebody that would know that what Estefan and Kenny are saying is, I can't pull out of these World Supercrosses. I have to pay if I pull out of these World Supercrosses. There's something in the contract. He negotiated this contract with Honda, from what I know. Honda guy saying, we didn't know he was announcing that. We heard rumors of Kenny agreeing to ride World Supercross, but we didn't know. They did not come to us. Their side is, hey, we're out of contract. Why do we got to come to you? It's after October 1st. But come on.
But you can also say, if you're Honda, no problem, but you don't have a contract now.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's both sides are, split.
No one technically wronged anyone.
No,
that's the whole thing. No one technically wronged anybody
here.
They didn't fire him.
Right.
Well, Honda's even saying, we didn't even pull your offer.
Yeah.
You just can't race these races.
Yeah.
In the end, I feel like it wasn't dueling press releases. They kind of agreed. They kind of said the same thing.
But then
this World Supercross thing, we're at an impasse.
But then Steve's telling people, I can't get out of this deal. We have to pay to get out of this
really?
deal.
Okay.
So
I could see that, though. Why wouldn't you? And for whatever reason, with these international races, it normally does not work that way. But why would you not? You're trying to sell tickets to these races with Ken Roczen on the billboard. Maybe you do put that in there. Like, we need your promise you will show up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At some point, you're like, hey, you're our star of our series that we're going to promote. So if you back out, we look like we lose credibility. So you have to pay us if you back out.
Yeah, we're going to have pissed off fans that wanted to see
makes sense to me.
Well, in a lot of these races, too, at least half of the money, a lot of times it is half of the money is put into escrow long before they board a plane. Yeah. So that could already be the case, that they would have to pay. Yeah. Maybe they actually receive the money or whatever. And typically on arrival, they get the second half.
Let's go bringing you our next guest of the night. This man is a very popular man in the industry. He works for Red Bull, and he's the innovator of the straight rhythm that is coming up. Jeremy Malott, what's up? How are you, Hammer?
I'm tired, guys. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. I'm beat. And I didn't even do Lot B or Lot 5, whatever it's rebranded as, but I'm tired. So
no, we are too, I think. It was a long weekend. Speaking of Ken Roczen, going to race your event on a Yamaha YZ250, Hammer, is the word on the street.
That's what we're working on. Yeah, I mean, I heard you guys talking about Ken's situation, and, I mean, again, he's got no contract with Honda at the moment, and thankfully, he's kind of stood by his word with us that he was going to race straight rhythm. Obviously, we haven't done it since 2019. He won it, and I was kind of laughing at, like, to go from the motocross of nations at Red Bud, the most prestigious steep in history. I think it was just the 75th year, or what was
75th? I think.
Yeah, unbelievable. To arguably the other side of the spectrum entirely with our event, with doesn't mean anything. It really isn't steeped in much history at all. Going from the crowd at Red Bud, which is shocking to see in person, to potentially our crowd at Huntington Beach, which is maybe a little better looking and a little younger and a little, more fun to look at, and maybe some sunnier weather. But you couldn't be on two ends of the spectrum any further apart than these two events. But when we kind of announced that we were doing it at Huntington Beach, Ken was like, I want to come back and compete. And I mean, I knew with him being on a Honda, it was a challenge 2 or 3 years ago at 2019 with Honda making bikes to compete with, brand new, Austrian built bikes and Yamahas. And they did a massive effort, and always grateful for them. But it was going to be a challenge, but with everything that's happened, we kind of figured out a situation, and looks like we're going to be building him a bike. Might be blue, and we'll work on that here shortly. But yeah, he's going to show up, which is great. And we're having, kind of all of our, it was this event's been off in the distance for so long. It was just like, oh, it's after the nations. It's after the nations. Like, it's so far away. Now we're here. It's like, oh God. So now we're full on. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be
okay.
I'll not lie to you, it's a lot of work. But go ahead, Steve.
So we saw the event at. Was it Pomona or Ramona? Which one was it? Pomona?
It was at the Ramones. It was at the Ramones.
Yeah.
Ramona.
Was it Pomona or Ramona?
Pomona, yes.
Okay, there's a Ramona down in San Diego. I get them mixed up. So Pomona Speedway, we've seen it there for a few years, and that was a really nice venue for it. I thought it worked out really well. Older, but still really good, you know, in the heart of LA-ish or whatever. But how in the hell do you get Huntington Beach to agree to host it? Like, how long did that take, and what's involved in this process?
I mean, at one point, a couple months back, I looked at our one of our production guys, and I was like, there was just so much on the horizon to make this happen. I was like, do you just want to go back to Pomona? Because like, we could put that together in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, what was looking? I mean, with inflation and gas prices, I mean, to bring in the dirt we're bringing in is an incredible line item in our budget, and then you have to fence off. We don't have a venue. The venue has to be created. So we got to put fences across, 2,000 feet on one side, 2,000 feet on the other, and probably 1,000 to 1,500 feet across, both sides. We have to reroute the beach path, the walkway. That's kind of run by the state parks. The boardwalk, if you will, that has to be open every day of the year, 24/7. That's just what it is. So we have to reroute that entirely around our venue because that's where our water truck lane is going to be. So, yeah, when you say how do we pull it off, I'm friends with Roland Sands, and he's done his Moto Beach Classic, which has been a flat track race with kind of everyday guys that he does. They race on Harleys and Indians and all these kind of garage builds. So he had the relationship with Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And it's just, I think, year 6 or 7 for him. And so we just kind of said, hey, we want to go to Huntington. He kind of had the relationship, so we're actually going to do our event with him, or he's going to do his event with us. So his event will be happening, same venue, same ticket, same everything, gets you in. He'll be kind of our support mechanism. So when our track's cold and being worked on in between qualifying and practice, his track's going to be hot. Fans or people can go race that, or will go race that. So you'll have kind of 2 events to kind of bounce around back and forth. But yeah, it's a massive endeavor. By far the biggest event I've ever worked on. Just the sheer volume of creating something out of nothing, having to truck dirt in from God knows where, and we use a lot of dirt. So it's we have we'll start building October 3rd, and we'll build basically all day and most nights to get it ready for October 15th. So it's a big build.
The amount of fencing that you just said that's an astronomical amount.
That number.
The dollar sign I'm thinking of renting that much fence is insane to me.
Oh, dude, add 20% to what you're thinking. It's insane. I know you're thinking high. I mean, I talked to Myron Short about it at Paula. This is the first Paula, and I was just talking about cost, and he's like, man, bathrooms are 3 times the cost of what they were. The same bathrooms than they were a year ago. Fencing's 3 times. Everything you guys know is 3 times the cost of what it was originally. Obviously, we got kind of thrown a curveball with the Supercross schedule. We kind of know where that's kind of shaping out and going and extending. So that will make it challenging in the future, and we'll make some decisions based on that. But right now we're focused on this. It's we got, I think, 2 of the best voices in the sport finally working together with Weege right there, and Daniel Blair will be in the booth calling it on ESPN Plus, and then it'll be live on ESPN the following day. So anybody in the U.S., it'll be on ESPN Plus. Everybody outside of the U.S., it'll be on Red Bull TV. But
that's cool.
But I know people are probably like, hey, I'm tired of buying all these packages just to watch all these races. I can't. That's not my fault. That's just how the nature of the beast is. But I will say, if you guys like Rampage, that will also be live on ESPN Plus the next weekend. So if you spend your $7.99 or whatever it is, you'll get both of those events live on ESPN Plus.
More PulpMX show on MavTV is coming up.
Here's more with the stars of two-wheel racing with PulpMX on MavTV. Is Weege going to get a free ESPN polo that he can wear for the next little while? Yeah.
Cred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's slowly becoming the voice of. He's a voice of everything, but very, very much becoming the voice of Red Bull these days. So which is great. But
if you're paying, he's saying.
Yeah, 100%. But to put him and Blair in the booth is like super exciting. So if you can't make it, at least you got those 2 guys to listen to, because that'll be a good time. So. I
got to meet at Red Bull Imagination last weekend Danielle, who writes the press releases, who makes fun of Blair and I in each press release that Straight Rhythm sends out. So it was good to put the name that makes fun of us in the press releases Put the face to
Put
a
it-
name.
Put a name to the bullseye you have
Yeah,
in your,
yeah,
in
it's
your
good.
house.
Oh, you know, I was supposed to film something for Straight Rhythm with Wes at Paula too. Oops.
Oh.
Oh.
They brought in
Didn't happen,
fastest man in Piedmont for a little bit of that, though.
Oh, they did?
They've got him.
Oh,
Don't
then
worry. They got him,
he's
yeah.
got it covered then, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I ran into a certain up-and-coming amateur phenom at Redbud Motocross the Nations.
Okay.
Father was a Supercross champion, Summercross champion as well.
Beat Ricky Carmichael. for
Beat Ricky
titles.
Carmichael, which we corrected Ricky on the live show twice.
Clarified.
Clarified.
Yes.
How about when Ricky, though, brought up like at Bud's Creek without even any prompting?
That was great.
That was great.
Yeah.
Anyways,
We'll get to that, yeah.
okay. So Evan Ferry is going to ride Red Bull
it's
Straight Rhythm.
happening?
Yes.
We're announcing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Steve, the catch, and Jason, you were on this group text, was, let's be honest, Straight Rhythm is a summer cross of its day, right?
Sure, yep.
It's probably
Well said.
a pretty solid parallel, right? I did say Evan Ferry's deal was contingent on you reluctantly, but you'd have to spin some wrenches on his bike. Like, we've always talked about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing that you would never want to have happen.
It's
But
depressing.
this is kind of the event. Like, if you can take him to greatness at this event, that means not a ton. I mean, you can I'll make you an even better summer cross trophy. So
I mean, okay, well, now we're talking. I don't know if I want to do it just for the sheer depression of checking Evan Ferry spokes. Just getting that, like, what's happened to my life? What?
the people want this, though.
Can you get one of those Verb guys to vlog this, show this? Like, we want extra coverage. Little shoulder programming of Steve wrenching for Evan Ferry. Can you make sure we get good footage of this?
Absolutely. I mean, I just feel like this is the thing that Steve has said would never happen.
Yes.
It's kind of staring us in the face. I
It
don't
is.
know how we avoid
It is. I said I was getting out of the sport before that happened. Doesn't look good.
Well,
Hey, who else do we have, Hammer, for this? Do we have locked in? Can you tell us?
yeah, right now we've got, not looking at the list, but yeah, Kenny Barsha, who's never done it, which, I mean,
That's
he'll be a
surprising.
blast to watch on a
Yeah,
two-stroke.
yeah.
He's in. AP Marv, who's never lost the event when he's raced it, so
Yep.
him and Kenny going head-to-head is really cool. Cooper, Webb, obviously. Hanny, I think, will be on his Husky for the very first time, which will be super cool. He's obviously always a threat. There's a couple others. I'm not looking at the list, but yeah,
Yeah,
a couple others as well. So, our
good
list
list.
is, we got a solid list. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think World Supercross kind of got in our way a little bit with some guys who probably, the irony of it all was they were kind of complaining that some of their teams, or the teams that we have, wouldn't let their guys go race their event. I'm running into that same issue today with their teams not allowing their guys to come race.
You're like, oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah, a little ironic on that sense. So I'm not sure how to really word that one with those guys because it's an off weekend. They have two races happening. But I think there's a couple of guys that we could have got. I was talking to Chad a little bit about it. I know he's kind of got plans to go to MotoGP in between weeks. So I think he'd been incredible. But like I said, we got a really good crew. The 125 list is great as well. So we're looking forward to it.
As an industry person that's done a lot for the industry off the track and is sort of a mover and shaker behind the scenes, let's tackle a couple. I want your opinion on a couple of things, Jeremy. First up,
Do it.
World Supercross and the SMX. Look, the people, the SMX guys, Feldon MX Sports can scream all they want about how they were working together beforehand, and there was meetings, and they want to align their TV deals. There's no doubt about that. Thanks to the World Supercross, we got more money for riders and teams over here in America. It's fantastic, and there's the World Supercross too. Thoughts on all of that, Jeremy, as an energy drink guy and as a fan of the sport as well, which you are. Put your cap on for each one of those and tell us what you think of this sort of new world of our sport right now.
There is some parallels to what's happening in the PGA Tour. I mean, whether the Tour was going to change with or without Live Golf, whether Feld was going to change with or without this World Supercross. I mean, at the end of the day, however it got there, and it's probably the sport's better for it. I think, and I told this to a few people, and I'm usually not one shy to give my opinion when asked, but I think they probably didn't need to do everything they did. It was obviously great to align, platforms and wherever the broadcast partners are going to end up being announced. Incredible. I do think they already had kind of put those guys in and did all the block and tackling they needed to do to keep World Supercross, at bay. I mean, there's the World Supercross thing. I kind of jumping topics. It's free market. It's either the consumer's going to appreciate it and support it, or they're not. I mean, anybody can try anything. But I think with what Feld had set up and with their schedule with MX Sports, like I just don't think a lot of guys were going to go over there, at least not yet.
Mm-hmm.
But my bigger concern with some of the stuff that Feld has done and MX Sports is just the scheduling getting a little bit longer. I personally don't think World Supercross has ever really been a threat to our series here. I mean, maybe on paper it did, and there were some rumblings and people got real scared and some insecurities. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to weather that storm. But my biggest concern is just extending Jet's career, extending Chase Sexton's career. I mean, our sport, we see with Dunge, like these guys don't have anything else once they retire, and then they get this weird, like, I didn't really want to retire. It was just so many races. So I've said it for a long time, like, we do need to put some parameters up, and while maybe there is some more built-in weeks off, those aren't weeks off. Jason, you know this. Alden Baker's not going to give his guys, and Johnny's not going to give his guys the free reign to go to Mexico or Cabo and have enchiladas and tacos and hang out for the week. Like, they're still going to be doing their program. And that continues to be my biggest concern is just burnout. Like, we cannot lose these guys, these stars. So my biggest issue with a lot of this is just like the fact that the schedule did get lengthened and we did add more races. We did. That's the fact. So I'm more probably concerned about that than I ever was with World Supercross, just because, we got guys coming up, but we know what's going to happen. Nothing's changing really. We're going to burn guys out and they're going to retire at 27 or 28 again. And that our sport can't keep pushing guys out of the sport that early. We just need all of those guys. If they choose to race like a Chad, let's make sure they can race. And that's my biggest fear, is that we're going to lose some of these young guys just because they're starting earlier and grinding harder, and that's just going to fry him. We see it. I mean, we saw it with, with Cooper last year, even with, his program. He's just like, I needed a break and try something else. Whether last year or this year didn't go maybe as well as Cooper thought, and it gave him the break he needed to reinvigorate to want to go racing for a couple more years, which if he didn't, he might have called it a career at the end of this year, which would have been a shame. So hopefully we get more out of him. But as far as everything else, I mean, it's great that we got competition. But again, my biggest thing is just like, it doesn't feel like we can ever really, we all know a lot, but who's ever making these schedules, like they're still not nailing it. And that's my biggest concern. And I've kind of told a few people, but I don't think, and I'm definitely not traveling to all the races, but if you're going to add races, you can't vote on that schedule unless you've gone to all the races. Like, that's just not fair for someone who goes to 17 Supercross or 12 Nationals and then says, hey, we're going to add 2 more races or another race. Like, you didn't go to all those races. Like, 31 races. I just saw the Formula One calendar. Now, their schedule's a little different. They're going in on Thursday and they're leaving on a Sunday or Monday, but they have 24 races this next year, and they're freaking out. They're like, it's the max. We won't do any more. 24.
Right.
They don't practice a week. We got 31.
Yep.
So, we just got to protect our own guys from ourselves. I know, people want to make money and events make money, but at some point we got to give a little to keep these guys around. So that's probably my biggest fear of everything.
And it's a legit fear. Now, the MX Sports Feld people will tell you it's just one more race because Monster Cup is there, and then they're taking one national away, so there's like one more race. Calm down. But it all adds up. Look, especially next year, the Coliseum's only available on October 13th or whatever the date is.
14th, yeah.
So now
that's like 40 days longer.
Yeah, we're going into Dis Nations. We're going to Coliseum. That's a long season, man, and you nailed it, Hammer. The guys aren't going to Cabo and taking off. They're not going to just have R&R, So
I mean, I heard Chase's thing earlier. He's getting a couple weeks off, and he's back to testing, and we got to get. I mean, Chase is an incredible talent, and he's 21, 22. He's an insane rider, but I just like the grind that he's going to go through if this is the schedule for his main part of his career. It's like, do we lose 2 years off the end of Chase's career?
Yep.
More PulpMX show on MavTV is coming up.
This MavTV Motorsports Network broadcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Here's more with the stars of two-wheel racing with PulpMX on MavTV. This gentleman on the line, he was a big hit with our listeners last year. He's new to the sport of Supercross and motocross, but he's making a mark and living a great life at the same time. From Twisted Tea, it's Billy Grotto. What's up, Billy? How are you, man?
Steve, how you doing, man?
We're good. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, man.
Well, listen, anytime that I get to talk to you and, be in the friendly confines of the Supercross family, how could I say no to that?
It's a great point. Absolutely. Haven't seen you at as many races this year, but your name's been brought up more than a few times. And we did a Twisted Tea. You guys are doing Twisted Tea VIP at every race for the Nationals.
Yeah.
And this weekend at Budds Creek, I met the dudes that got the link from me, from my social post, and they won. And then they were living it up so much, Billy, that they were actually told, hey, guys, can you calm down on the Twisted Teas?
Well, listen, we know we got the right guys that won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, I'm telling you, I do these sweepstakes, and sometimes, on the V-Twin side of things, I do a sweepstakes every year for a custom Harley. And one year we did one, and remember that movie with Tom Hanks, and he was the Captain Phillips?
Oh, Captain Phillips, yep.
Yeah, and then the guy who was up for supporting actor, he says, I'm the captain now.
I am the captain now. Yeah.
That's the guy that won the bike. And I'm like, do you
No
even
way.
ride motorcycles? Yeah, I'm like, do you even ride motorcycles? And he's like, no. So many people enter these sweepstakes that they're just not even interested in what the prize is. They just want to win.
Yeah.
So it makes me so happy when we can take a super fan of whatever it is and make them happy. Like this summer, we did a program called, internally we're calling it Skis and Tweez.
Okay.
But the consumer facing, it was called Win Your Own Twisted Tea Water Whip.
Uh-huh.
And we gave away a jet ski. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that being part of the Suzuki family, but we gave away one of those things.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of, we gave away one a week all summer long.
Jeez.
And I think there's like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 12. Yeah, sounds like a lot, but it's only 12 of them. But yeah, I love when we can make somebody happy, and I love giving stuff away, especially when the brewery's paying for it. Because if I had to pay for it, I tell you what, you wouldn't be getting 12 jet skis, kids.
No way. I was part of the Racer X Twisted Tea post-race show this Saturday after Budds, Wygan and I. And
oh man,
and then
he's the
and then of course to fit the Twisted Tea, we had Justin Rodbell, a privateer guy. He had no shirt on, and he was pounding a Twisted Tea while we're interviewing him in front of the rig. It was great. It was perfect. It worked out great. Yeah, Rodbell.
That's exactly what we want. Yeah, I want to be like the best party in the pits.
Right.
Everybody wants to win a race, and including Pipes and the entire HEP team, and I want to win races too. But more importantly, I want to have the best party in the pit.
Nice. Billy Grotto.
We're the best sponsor of
Yeah,
all time.
no,
I don't
he
care
did-
how you
yeah.
do. We're partying.
You should have had Daniel when you raced. You should have had Twisted
God.
Tea, Billy Grotto.
Well, where
on you.
were you when I
know,
needed you?
right, 'cause that was
Man.
sort of your life.
Yeah,
Right,
God.
Right. Billy, listen, you were at Sturgis for a month. Like, do you need IVs? Do you need a cleanse? Like, what was that? How was that, bro?
Yeah. They're gonna send me to the Betty Ford clinic now that I get home. So it takes me. It takes me 2-3 days to drive out from Florida, and then I got to Sturgis on the 18th of July, and I left on the 17th of August. So it takes me 2 weeks to set up the event, because what's fascinating about Sturgis is that, except for like 2 or 3, all of the bars in Sturgis are only open during the 10 days of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally.
Really?
And
yes,
yeah. It's not like it's a bar that's been open all year and you're just kind of plugging in and putting your decorations. They're just, putting the key in the door and turning the lights on and sweeping the floors and clearing the cobwebs out. And like, it's this Herculean effort and this push to the first weekend in August when it's just balls to the wall bananas. So it takes 2 weeks to set it up. Then the event is, effectively a week, right?
Yep.
And then it takes me about a week to break it down. But I get to spend, that month in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And if you've never been to the Black Hills, even if you don't own a motorcycle, like, just go there, because it's one of the most breathtaking places on earth. And I love it just because it sure as hell beats being in Florida in the middle of hurricane season.
Yeah.
So I get to be in Sturgis. And, Sturgis is the biggest motorcycle rally in the world. And it's like the Super Bowl for anything motorcycle. V-Twin, Metrics, all comers are promoting their new items. Harley's promoting their new machines, Indians promoting their machines, all the Metrics are. And it's kind of like South by Southwest for motorcycles, but probably with more arrests.
What was the craziest thing you saw at Sturgis in a month? Like what? Can you even talk about it on a public radio show? I don't know.
Well, since it's, friendly listeners, since PulpMX is a family-oriented broadcast,
well, not
I'll keep
really.
it clean.
Yeah, no, we're not. But you can go ahead. Whatever you want. Just what was the craziest thing?
The craziest thing that happened, well, at least for me, was every year, Burt Baker, Baker Transmissions, and Cycle Source magazine, they do the Baker Burnout, and basically it's a race to fifth gear. Two Harleys are side by side or whatever you're riding. It doesn't matter. They're side by side and they race to fifth gear, and the winner wins a transmission from Burt, because at the end if you've won all those heats, you're going to need a new transmission.
You need a fresh.
Right.
You're going to need a fresh tranny because. And I, me being the ham that I am, and I bring the Twisted Tea bike in there, and normally, I get eliminated pretty quickly. But the last couple of years, I've won a bunch of them, not the entire run, but anyway, this year, I went into the box, and there was this guy, and the night before. And this is a public service announcement, kids. Never, ever, ever ride even mildly intoxicated. Just don't do it.
Great advice.
Great advice, yeah.
But that notwithstanding, the night before, I went to see Rob Zombie at the Buffalo Chip, and it was absolutely bananas. One of the best concerts I've ever seen. We're leaving out of there, and there's a guy in front of us, and he's absolutely gooned.
Right.
Should not have been riding. Big mistake.
More PulpMX show on MavTV is coming up.
Here's more with the stars of two-wheel racing with PulpMX on MavTV.
We're leaving out of there, and there's a guy in front of us, and he's absolutely gooned.
Right.
Should not have been riding. Big mistake. He's sitting there. He's all over the road. His phone's about to fall out of his pocket. He gets to a stoplight, and I'm like, all right, good. This guy's buddy's going to tell him, pull over.
Yeah.
Buddy doesn't stop him. Does a giant burnout at the light, sideways through the thing, and I'm like, this guy's going to die. I hope he gets pulled over.
Right.
He drifted off into the ether, never to be seen again. I pull up to the Burt Baker burnout contest, pull up to the guy next to me because it's covered in smoke. You don't know who it is.
Yeah.
You don't care who it is. It's just the next contestant. I look over. It's the guy.
It's that guy. Nice.
It's the guy.
Nice.
That's great.
That's nice. He's alive and he's there for the burnout.
He made it.
Yeah.
I said he's alive. And so the guy, and normally I like to win these things. I'm like any red-blooded American male. I like to win. So the guy, the drunken idiot that could barely put two and two together, he smoked me on the first heat because I wasn't paying attention. And here's another public service announcement, kids. The first one is never ride your motorcycle drunk. The second one is don't break two laws at the same time. And the third and final one is never, ever, ever take a bet that's double or nothing. So after the guy smoked me, I said to him, double or nothing. And wouldn't you know it, he took me up on it, and I dusted his
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. And one last thing, Steve, I forgot. You had reached out about some people that wanted some gear, and we have an e-store. If you go to twistedtea.com, we have an e-store, and they have some pretty cool stuff on there.
Yep.
I'm constantly trying to get more stuff on there, so just check back. But if you want the gear, it's on the Twisted Tea e-store, or go to the rig and hit Pipes Up.
Billy, thanks for the time, man. Always good to catch up. Thank you for helping us out this year. You've sent me some Trulies for my wife, and of course, Twisted Teas are here in the studio, and guys have been drinking that too. So, thank you, man.
Thanks, Billy, Steve. Thanks, Daniel. You guys take care.
All right, see you later. Thank you.
Talk soon. Later.
That's Billy Grotto, everybody. He's a hell of a guy.
Oh, yeah.
What's take us through this? I guess so. This is you're still doing Supercross TV.
Yeah, everything's the same.
Yeah.
Just big life change. Obviously, I sold Eagle Grit to a good friend of mine, John. Elite Supply bought it, and that was kind of the final string that was tying me to California. And my wife and I wanted to leave for a long time.
Your wife's everybody, all your family's in California.
Everybody's California, yeah. But we had a thought. We wanted to go and start somewhere new. Did our research, found our dream scenario, and
did your own
moved.
research? You did your own research?
I did my own research. I did a lot of my own research.
And so you moved to South Carolina.
Carolina.
Why South Carolina? What was the?
I wanted to move to the East Coast, and I had a bunch of. I started with like 15 places, and we just narrowed it down. We just, we would lay in bed together and look at articles, and we just kind of narrowed it down. It was just anything we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Greenville ended up being, in the final 3 or so.
Yeah.
And then after the Atlanta Supercross, I just drove down there for 4 days. And when I left there, this is how crazy it happened. The very last house that I went and looked at, I got a real estate agent there. She calls me on the last day. I'm getting ready to go to the airport in Atlanta, which is 2.5 hours back. Hey, a house just popped up. It kind of fits everything you guys would want. I think you got to go look at it. And I was like, yeah. I think we're good. I think we're going to go. I think you should go look. We went and looked and loved it. FaceTime my wife, showed her everything. She wasn't there. It's me and my mom were there. FaceTime her. She was like, I like it. And I was like, what do you want me to do? She's like, what do we do next? I said, I don't know. We'll make an offer, I guess.
Yeah.
I made an offer right then, flew home, woke up the next morning, time change, 3-hour time change. I wake up with a phone call from the real estate agent that I got the house the next morning. And it was on.
Yeah.
And so we just made the move happen and loaded up. Got rid of most of our stuff, had a van, a trailer.
When you say got rid of it, like sold it or what?
Just no things we had. I didn't own my house in California.
Yeah.
So just got rid of everything. We started brand new furniture, everything. We started from zero. Just took meaningful stuff, and drove 4.5 days across the country, pulled into the house. Wife had never seen it. Opened the door, and there it was. We live there now.
Wow.
So that was the first part of all this.
Yeah.
And I was in a pretty cool little chapter because I just moved to a new place. We're kind of exploring it. I was golfing.
You have 2 kids?
2 kids,
Okay.
yeah.
So how's the kids adapt?
They love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My son
They gotta
loves
make
it.
new friends and everything
Already.
all
Well,
that?
they started school last week, and now
Okay.
it's all good because they're making a lot of friends. But the
Okay.
neighborhood, they made some friends too,
Yeah.
where we live. But yeah, so we get there, and I'm like just kind of chilling, moving in, golfing, like having a good time. And I found out really quickly that I don't work well that way. I need to be doing something, chasing something all the time. It's just how I'm wired. So I lined up a couple little things here and there to do. One of them was to go to the Orange Brigade camp. They do like a camp before Loretta's every year where they get the kids together and they coach them. JSR was there. He came down. He was the other coach.
Legend.
Oh, I love him.
Legend.
And I've done things with him throughout the years. Raced with him.
Second best Canadian rider ever.
Second best?
Yeah.
Better than Noof?
Yeah. Slightly.
Not in spirit, not in heart. No. So I did the camp, and I was brought in more to do like the media side and coach them on how to do interviews and all that. Ended up really liking it and hung out with some of the families, went bowling, like just kind of hung out. And next thing you know, like conversation turned to 2, turned to 3. Next thing you know, it was kind of like, hey, this might happen. But I said, I'm not going to move back. I just moved there. I'm not going to move to Southern California. So if that takes me out of it, I understand. I would love the job, but I'm going to stay where I'm at. Yep, no problem. So I kind of thought it wasn't going to happen. I get a call from Ramsey, and he's like, hey, man, I think we're good. I think you could stay there. You can do Supercross. Like, if you want this, we could do it. And I wanted it really bad. So
I'm surprised they did that, to be honest. You got a Supercross job going on that requires a pretty good commitment. Mm-hmm. You're on the East Coast. You're not at the the office, but good for you. Yeah.
And I think ultimately, the most important part of the role, because there's a lot of responsibilities I'm learning about right now. There's a lot more than I thought, which I learned that this week. There's more. But the most important part is dealing with the families and the kids and guiding them through, in my opinion, the most important chapter, which is, say, 15 to 18. Like, you got to make some good decisions. You got to, more than make good decisions, you got to not make bad ones. And I work really well with families and kids. I communicate good with kids. So it was a really good fit. I think they saw that, and so it happened. And I literally signed my employment contract, and the next thing you know, I was at Loretta Lynn's at opening ceremonies, like, oh crap,
with a shirt on, with the team shirt on,
with the team shirt on, and literally I walk in, I'm like, so who's our riders? And I knew because I did my research the week before. I got an email list, but I didn't know the dad's names, the mom's names. I barely knew the kids. I mean, some of them I didn't even know what the kid's face looked like. So,
well, there's a Mr. Way from. He's going to be difficult.
Oh, he's been difficult. Mr. Way.
Lots of shocks needed. Lots of forks.
There's some attention to detail going on with Mr. Way. But no, he actually was, I think, a big part of it too, because when the idea of it happening was kind of being floated around, he put in a really good word and said, hey, I think this is going to be a good fit. So he and a couple others were able to kind of push it over the finish line and say this can work.
Good.
So
good for you.
It's on, dude.
It's surprising to hear you want that job and surprising that they let you do it. But yeah, dude, new house, new job,
new everything. Yeah, it's rad.
And is the wife making friends? Is she like the East Coast?
She is, man. She's shy. She's not the most outgoing. She's kind of independent and reserved, but. Randomly, I got a DM from a guy who said, hey, I think you moved on my street.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
It's creepy, but.
Well, until I looked at his Instagram and he was a moto dude, because I find moto people to be cool. So I'm like,
still creepy.
Cool.
Still creepy.
I was a little scared right at first, but it was good.
Yeah.
Come to find out, he's got a 12-year-old kid that's now my son's best friend. They're like strolling the neighborhood on their bikes all day. I mean, he's got his best friend. And then his wife is literally like, met my wife and they hit it off, and now she's got a friend in the neighborhood, like down the street.
Oh,
so
isn't that sweet?
It's all worked out. And then I got my friends. I got Randy Richardson. I got Randy. I got
John Knowles is around that area too.
He's further out. He's Charleston.
Okay.
He's out by the water.
Okay.
And then Eddie Ray and Jessica Patterson are out there, and they're awesome. I mean, I've seen them 20 times since I've been there, riding their tracks and going to dinner with them. So it's become home super fast, and we're rooted in pretty hard.
I know you don't have the answer to this, but our listeners and viewers are going to want to know. Any word about you getting the play-by-play gig for Supercross?
Full honesty, I haven't had any of those conversations at all. I've reached out
to
them.
Will you be back with them?
Yeah,
unless
the wheels completely fall off the wagon. But otherwise, I'm working on projects right now, off-season stuff that I'm getting ready to start doing for them. So no, we're all good there. As far as the role, I don't know. I've reached out a couple times. I always do. Once a month, I'll hit up Prater or Mui or Yaros, and I just touch base and see how things are going. And they're still finalizing, I think, everything. So they're not even to me yet.
You gotta say no on the race day stuff. Race day live. You gotta say no. Yeah.
Why?
More PulpMX show on MavTV is coming up.
This MavTV Motorsports Network broadcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Yamaha. Revs your heart. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Here's more with the stars of two-wheel racing with PulpMX on MavTV. You're a pit reporter guy. You do a great job in that. Or you're in the booth. You do a great job with that. Race Day Live is for cut your chops on Race Day Live.
So I've cut my teeth already.
You've done it, and you do a good job on it. But it's a lot, man. It is a lot to do that all day and then go up into the booth.
Race Day Live's tough because of the pressure we get from some of the fans named Marks.
Yeah.
I regret nothing.
Yeah,
and I will continue.
Camera angles.
Yeah, there's certain fans out there that are mouthier.
No, but you know what I'm
most
saying? Okay, so
Marks.
I know you get paid a little more for Race Day Live, so you're gonna say goodbye to some money, but you can maybe negotiate. Do you know what I'm saying? If you want to, you don't see Todd, Lee, Ricky doing extra stuff. They barely do the second practice session. At some point, they stop doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, you're part of that. You're that talent. You are that guy. And so to me, you got to be like, man, I can't. That is so much on brain power needed for that. Is it 4 hours, 3 hours?
Sometimes more. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, but I everything I do in the sport is passion driven. I love it a lot, and I love doing that too. And even last year when I did the 4 in the booth, I wanted to keep doing Race Day Live, and they're like, "No, you have a job to do at night."
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like,
you have a job now to do it.
It doesn't matter. I like to work when I'm there. I mean, that's why I do.
Try to get the same money, and then just be like, "I'm out on Race Day Live." They'll find somebody for Race Day Live. There's plenty of capable people.
Hey, I signed with an agency. I have an agent, but you are. I like the way you're talking.
I'll represent you.
Can you give them a call then? And
absolutely, I'm sure they'll listen to me.
Do not encourage them, please.
They usually listen to everything you have to say. So
they do.
I'll bet my career is in great hands if you give them a call on my behalf. I bet that'd be a good move.
It's too much work. It's too much job to do. So
the tough part is going to be the futures races because the Futures riders are my riders. That part of the program is
Yeah,
mine. So,
yeah.
you know, the Dax Bennicks, those kids that are coming in, Casey Cochran, I'll be having to figure out how to.
Can we get this Raswell guy a ride?
Raswell, my God.
He got no ride.
Let us just happen for one. Everyone's freaking out. It just happened. But that kid, I don't know. I know you don't watch and don't pay attention, but man, what a story that weekend.
I've heard he's a cool kid too.
Nicest kid. Yeah. I actually get mad at him. He calls me Mr. Daniel.
Oh yeah.
I don't like that at all because it makes me feel old.
Right.
And I am old. I just turned 40.
Like Mr. Miyagi. He was old as
he's
he was old as
Mr. Daniel is, I don't know. But, I just turned 40. I show up at Loretta's, and he's like, hi, Mr. Daniel. I'm like, don't ever say that again, ever. Well, so, no, nicest kid ever, super nice family, and, like, the story of the weekend just insane.
And also, in your contract, the Yamaha LCQ Challenge needs to be on race day live. Televised like a real race.
That's in my contract?
You got to tell him that. You got to tell him that. Or you're walking.
That has to be in my contract.
Yeah, or you're walking because
Wouldn't that be your contract?
Nope.
So you don't want me to do race day live, but now you want it on race day live, and you want it in my contract.
Yeah, yep.
Wow. All right, I'm going to stick to my
and
agents.
Then main event moto is still going on.
Dude.
Okay.
You know what we did.
You're able to do it with the cross.
Yeah,
coast,
we figured it out. So we made the move to Patreon. So we do it all, with the paywall. We do it the different way. We don't do sponsors. We do it, pay $5 a month.
I don't do sponsors either.
You don't at all. Not one.
Nothing.
But we're doing like 3 to 4, sometimes 5 shows a week. And we're doing our thing, and we do it all. We figured out the technology to make it work. We do live stream shows. We do re-airs and everything. The what?
Nothing. Achereby's USA. Achereby's industry leader in aftermarket dirt bike plastics and accessories. I love Achereby's because it just bolts right up to the bike. No filing, no drilling holes.
And Talon Wolin. I mean, Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf. So
come on, Lone Wolf.
Dude, I like Lone Wolf.
Oh, he's one of the best.
He's a
ever.
good dude.
Always has been, yep.
And Max seems like a good kid. Like I hope Max doesn't do anything really dumb that I got to criticize him for.
Because you like him, so you want to keep liking him?
Well, listen, if he does something dumb, I got to call it like it is. But it's going to pain me because I really think Max is a good kid.
He's a good kid.
And I like the dad.
Yep.
And the dad.
And it's coming around for Max, too. He's had a really
he's
quiet, good summer.
And I don't think Lone Wolf is a crazy mini dad. No. Maybe I don't know him that well.
No, I've part of, again, my role with Orange Brigade is taking the experience and the things I've learned through the years. I know you're going to laugh at this, but I've learned a lot from Tony Alessi, things that he's told me, and I don't just let me finish. Tony has told me a lot of the things that went right and a lot of things that went wrong with them, decisions.
I was wrong.
Talon, Lone Wolf, I mean, he's kind of guided me through his career with Max all the way through and told me what they're doing, how they're doing it. Mm-hmm. So I've been able to see a lot of right, a lot of wrong, and be taught that stuff too. So I feel like Lone Wolf's been pretty impactful that way.
Uncle Jim's on the line with some advice too, as well.
Uncle
I don't
what?
think they get a before the main event.
That's Jim's advice.
That's from
Uncle Jim's called in. That's
okay.
He just wants you to.
Well, I got to put that in my notes.
Okay, all right.
For the memo that's going out.
Well, guys and gals, there you go. There were some never-before-aired segments and snippets from interviews from the PulpMX show. Like I said at the top, the live show usually goes around for 5 hours. There's plenty of great interviews and contents that never make it to air. So I'm super stoked that you guys got to see this best of episode, and I hope you enjoyed some of it. We'll be doing a few more of these this summer as well. And we'll see you next week for a live version of the PulpMX show on MavTV.